Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are back on MMAUnhinged. Today we are joined once again by Oscar Silva, and this time we are live on StreamYard, something a new software that we're experimenting with today. Eventually down the road, we'll invest in it. But yeah, I'm joined with Oscar Silva. How's it going over there in America, buddy?
Yeah, it's going great. I actually wasn't too excited about this fight when it was originally announced, but the more I think about it, the more nervous I get about my pick.
So we'll get into that pick a little bit later on once we break down the card. We're going to start from top to bottom, and we'll start at the top. But yeah, we've got some great news coming on the show. I just dropped a Gilbert, not Gilbert, because we're talking about Gilbert Burns. I just dropped a Gillian Robertson interview on the channel. Be sure to check that out on YouTube and Anchor, where you'll check that out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Oscar knows all them details over there. Oscar, where can they check them out?
Yeah, they can check it out on pretty much any podcast platform, but the main ones are Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Overcast, Podcast Addict, or wherever else you get it. It would have to be some kind of strange platform for it not to be there.
Yeah, so go check out the Gillian Robertson interview available after this show, and so be sure to check that out. But we're gonna get into the first fight. Well, the main event of the evening. We're gonna start from top to bottom. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, defending his title versus Gilbert Burns. A really good stylistic matchup between the two grapplers. Gilbert Burns, a good JJ practitioner, really underrated on the ground, but on the feet he's got really good power, and it's a really tough test in front of Usman. What's your thoughts on this matchup, Oscar?
Yeah, if you're looking at this from a casual perspective, you're thinking Usman gets another dominant, unanimous decision, but it's really not that simple. Gilbert Burns is a high level black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and he has a lot of power in his hands. Ever since he's gone a welterweight, he's been a force to be reckoned with. He's knocked out Alexei Kunchenko, he's beaten Gunnar Nelson, he knocked out Damian Maya, and he nearly finished the former champion that Usman beat to claim his title, Tyron Woodley. He's looking like an absolute monster at this new weight class, and I do think he presents a lot of danger to Kamaru Usman. Although, let's not disrespect Kamaru Usman here. The guy is undefeated in the UFC. He only lost his third fight by submission, and we can really write that off if you ask me. The guy's a black belt himself as well. So I think with his wrestling, he'll be able to negate the jiu-jitsu of Burns, but he'll have to be very cautious when he goes down there. But if you watch most of his fights recently, he actually likes to go to the clinch more than he likes to lay and pray on the ground. He likes to push a guy against the fence and control him. He actually got 16 minutes of control time against Jorge Masvidal. That was on short notice for Masvidal, but the way that the guy is built is very impressive. He's very physically strong, and I think he's bigger and stronger than Burns, so that'll lead him to victory because he can control him against the fence. That's his path to victory here. If he strays from that, that's where Gilbert Burns could win. I think this goes to a decision on either. If either guy wins, I think Burns and Usman have had a lot of friendly sparring in the past. They've also had some hard sparring. I don't know who got the better of who. We've heard a lot of people say that Burns actually got the better of him, but we just don't know what really happened. Usman has gone to Trevor Whitman's camp over there in Colorado to improve his striking, while Burns has stayed at the same gym, but at that same gym, trained, and they all know all of Usman's weaknesses, and they can tell them to Gilbert. So we don't know who has the edge in the skill set on the feet, and also we don't know who has the mental edge because these guys are good friends, former teammates. I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I will have to side with the safe pick, the big favorite, Kamaru Usman by unanimous decision. How about you?
See, that's what makes this fight so interesting. These two were former teammates. They know each other's game so well. They were training partners. They sparred with each other regularly at a daily basis, and now they're fighting each other. It's interesting because they've seen each other. They've seen each other grow, become into better fighters as the future went on. And it's so interesting because they're going to know each other's game just like that. They've been training with each other for years, and it's just going to be an interesting fight. And hopefully there's no bad blood between it. I think they're okay. I think it's not a massive rivalry. They just they ended up fighting each other for the belt. But Kamaru Usman, man, he's an animal, man, and I do see him taking this win. And I feel like whereas other fighters who are fighting Gilbert Burns will be timid to take him down because of his BJJ. But I feel like Usman, he's going to be able to take him down, and he's going to be able to avoid the attacking offense from Gilbert Burns on the ground. I feel like Kamaru Usman is very good at his submission defense, being able to nullify the submission offense coming his way. And I think that's what's going to be the story of the fight. I think Kamaru Usman will take him down in the early rounds, and that's when we're going to see how really good Usman is. How he can take him down at will, and how he can control him on the ground. Someone that's high skilled and high leveled as Gilbert Burns, and just sitting there and controlling him. And this is what we're going to see in this fight. I think Usman controls him on the ground, and in the later rounds stands with him and just they trade punches, and it's a really good 5-round fight. I think Usman takes it by decision.
Yeah, that's what I went with as well. But it will not be easy. Gilbert Burns is a savage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Burns has the edge in the power. I honestly don't know who has the edge in the power here, but that could be the determining factor in the judge's eyes, because whoever lands the more effective shots could get the hand raised here.
Yeah, 100%. Early on, I think Gilbert Burns can be very active with his hands. He'll be throwing a lot of combinations. A lot of leg kicks, I think, will be coming in from his way. I think he's going to try and nullify that calf kick. That calf will try and shut it down just to limit the movement of Kamaru Usman, try and stop him from shooting. Maybe a potential knee. We don't know. Gilbert Burns might fake that knee, try and stop Usman from shooting in. That's we've seen that in the past when strikers like to kind of fake that knee when they're fighting wrestlers. And but if Kamaru Usman does take Gilbert Burns down, that's his world as well. He's a BJJ practitioner. He's a black belt. He's a really high skilled BJJ practitioner. He's been around BJJ his whole life. He's really skilled on the ground, and he said there recently that he will throw up a submission anywhere and everywhere recently, and that's incredible to think about. That's really scary. If you're Kamaru Usman, you really don't want to get caught in a submission. I think I said recently on someone's post, the first 2 rounds is going to go Kamaru Usman's way, but we're going to see a really close submission attempt from Gilbert Burns. I think Gilbert Burns is going to land a really close submission attempt, and it will become really close to finishing the fight, and then Usman would learn from that mistake, and then he'll just continue to control him on the ground.
Yeah, I also have questions about Gilbert Burns' cardio, because while he did go 5 rounds with Tyron Woodley, that was a Tyron Woodley that was not presenting any threats in that fight. He was extremely timid, and he was really not firing back when Gilbert was throwing. So I wonder how Gilbert is going to process being possibly dominated, and will he get tired in those later rounds? Because we know Usman is a perfect 5-round fighter. Here's a fun fact if you didn't know. He's never, ever sat down on a stool in between rounds.
Who? Usman?
Yeah, never. Even in the
Wow.
Covington fight where he was swinging for the fences.
Wow, that's incredible. It just highlights his cardio, man. He's a machine when it comes to 5 rounds, and being able to withdraw the punishment, and being able to carry on. The endurance that he has is absolutely incredible for a fight. It's ridiculous, and it showed in that Colby fight where it was very close heading into that 5th. The fight could be going either way. Colby started well in the 5th, and then Usman just landed that big shot and ended the fight.
Yeah, I would love to see that rematch possibly after this as well.
That rematch is stylistically, I think that's the closest matchup we have to someone beating Usman. I think Colby is his biggest test, 100%.
Yeah, if not Hamza Chimaev, but we'll talk about that fight later in March.
Yeah. Well, co-main event of the evening, we got Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso. A bit of a weird one for me for co-main event. They were kind of you got Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch right after that. I was like, what? I think they should be co-main event. You know, Kelvin Gastelum, you know, after his loss against Jack Manson, needs to win desperately. But we talk about wins desperately to get back on the hype train. Macy Barber, after a loss against Roxanne Modafferi, facing Alexa Grasso, she really needs a win in this one desperately, because in her last fight, all that hype got derailed, and she needs to put on a statement on UFC 258. You know, say that I'm still here. I'm still going to be the youngest champion in the UFC. She needs a really big performance on this Saturday. And what do you think of the fight, and who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, I think this actually has potential to be a really good fight, because both of these women like to keep it on the feet, and their striking is pretty good, especially at the flyweight level here for the women. I think that we're gonna see this being contested on the feet, but I do think that Grasso has she's cleaner. Her striking is cleaner. Uh, she's not a finisher in any sense of the word. Other than the fact that she nearly submitted Carla Esparza in Mexico City back in 2019. That was an insane submission she nearly pulled off against a former champion, and that was a split decision against a former champion. We cannot ignore that. And let's not forget, Macy Barber is coming off an ACL injury that we don't know how she'll look in the octagon on her leg. I don't know. That could be a factor here, especially when she might need to move away from an aggressive Grasso. Grasso is coming off a big win after moving up to flyweight, because she could not make that strawweight limit back in January of 2020, and she looks much healthier at this weight class, and her superior boxing shall leave her with victory. But Barber likes to finish fights. That's the only way she's won. She's won on the feet. She's finished a ton of people, including someone you just interviewed, Jillian Robertson. She's very well respected. She's seen it all really, and she finished her. So that's a really good win on her record. But I don't think Grasso's chin is like, that Mexican warrior spirit is no joke. We saw that with Brandon Moreno. They can take a shot and keep it coming. And she actually said she was inspired by Brandon Moreno. She says she wants to be champion and represent Mexico here. And I think this is a step forward for her. She gets the unanimous decision here. How about you?
Yeah, as you said there perfectly, this is a good fight. But I would like to have seen Kelvin Gastelum and Ian Heinisch at the co-main event. In, even though it doesn't really make any difference, they're both going to go 3 rounds at the end of the day. It doesn't really, if Kelvin Gastelum goes to the game main event, he's not going to fight 5 rounds. He's going to be 3 rounds anyway. Even though there has been potentially talks of a co-main event and main event being 5 rounds. Have you heard about that?
I would love to see that, but Dana said that it takes opportunities away from other fighters. He says there's only so much time you can fill. Well, let's be honest. Some of those early prelim fights, they can go to the wayside. Not on this card, but on certain cards, they can definitely go to the wayside. If you ask me, if we're gonna sacrifice 3 rounds of the Melo versus Maras for say Tony Ferguson versus Paul Felder, that's an easy trade if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. Best way I could put it. But anyway, Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso. You said there perfectly. Alexa Grasso, her boxing's more sharp, more crisper. She's got more pop on you. Well, I wouldn't say more pop, but more sharper. But Barber, you said there, has got that power on the feet. She reminds me of a lot. Very similar to Miranda Maverick, because they both got power. They both got very heavy hands. Barber can end the fight quickly. But does she? That's the problem. She has to end it in bunches. She's not a KO, one punch KO. Not any woman in MMA is a one KO punch, unless your name's Chris Cyborg, Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, someone like that. But yeah, when it comes to I don't know, not lower level, but when it comes to other names other than them, it takes a lot of punches to finish the fight, and we've seen it again in Macy Barber. It takes which she does eventually finish the fight. She's got heavy hands on the feet, and she does finish the fight. She gets women very hurt. We've seen it against, how you said there, against Jillian. She got her very hurt. The referee stopped it on the cage. And so, yeah, she's finished a lot of fights in her career. Her last win was against, you said there, Jillian Robinson, for a loss against Roxanne Modafferi. Before that, she had wins over JJ Aldrich. She kneed her and then KO'd her with punches. Before that, she knocked out Hannah Cyphers, ground and pound. But yeah, this is a layoff that she's more than a year since her last fight against Roxanne Modafferi. And I feel like, as you put it perfectly, a unanimous decision win for Alexa Grasso. I think she's going to stick to her point fighting. I think she's going to. This is a good opportunity for her. She almost finished the fight against Carla Esparza. If the fight does hit the floor, I do give the edge to Alexa Grasso. I think she's got a better BJJ. She's got a better wrestling. But yeah, Alexa Grasso, she's very good on the striking as well in her own right. She's very crisp, very sharp. I feel like she'll stick to her jab the whole night, and we'll see her just jabbing and moving.
Yeah, also, I think that this could be a split decision, but you never know with these judges, you know. And let's not forget that Alexa's never been finished by strike. She's never been knocked out, so I have no reason to believe that Barber should be able to get the finish here. Let's not forget Grasso has much more experience. Barber is very new. She's very young. She wanted to be the youngest champion in UFC history, and Roxanne Modafferi had something to say about that. So the experience edge sides here with Grasso, and I think that'll really be a thorn in Barber's side.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we move on to Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. A great fight. An absolute tremendous fight. Ian Heinisch, bursting onto the scene after coming onto the Dana White Contender Series. Got some wins behind his belt. He beat Cesar Ferreira, Antonio Carlos Jr. That got him a fight against Derek Brunson. He lost that one by unanimous decision, and then he got a fight against Omar Akhmedov, and he lost that one by unanimous decision as well. But then he returned in with impressive fashion against Jared Mershart, overhand right, and then some ground and pounds to finish it off. And now he was scheduled to fight Brendan Allen, and then Sean Strickland stepped in, took his opportunity, and now he got that big win. But now he's got Kelvin Gastelum, a much bigger name, a much bigger person in front of him. And Kelvin Gastelum, as late, has not been on the greatest of form. We've seen it. He lost against Darren Till. He lost against Jack Manson. He's lost against Adesanya. He's got 3 losers on the bounce. This is a big fight for Kelvin Gastelum. This is a must-win fight, because if he loses this one, it's going to be really tricky to see where he goes from here. Before he was on a 3-fight losing streak, he beat the likes of Michael Bisping. He knocked him out. Had a split decision win over Jacare Souza. Got finished by Chris Weidman. Beat Tim Kennedy. Beat Victor Belfort. That got overturned. But he's this is a tough fight for Kelvin Gastelum. Ian Heinisch is a warrior. He's very good on the feet. We've seen he's got powerful hands. But Kelvin Gastelum, we've seen that he's powerful as well. We've seen him knock out Michael Bisping. But on the ground, I don't really see Ian Heinisch proposing a threat for Kelvin Gastelum. I thought Kelvin Gastelum is going to have the better of the exchanges on the ground. And if Kelvin Gastelum can get his strikes working, get him moving quick, getting the punches in early, I think this could be a good night for him. But, necessarily doesn't have to end it early. But I feel like if he just gets his strikes working, connecting, being active on the feet, beat Ian Heinisch to the punches, he can have a really good fight and a really good night. What's your thoughts on this, Oscar?
Yeah, I think people are putting too much into Kelvin's losses. Uh, you can always make an excuse for a loss, and that's what I'll do here. Kelvin Gastelum, he lost to Adesanya. That guy won 2 rounds against Adesanya, the middleweight king, the guy who was beating Costa, Romero, and Whitaker. He had him rocked badly. I simply cannot overlook that. That fight might be the greatest fight I've ever seen. That fight really, really impressed me. That fight will be something I will never forget. And I can't forget it here when I'm thinking about Kelvin Gastelum and Ian Heinisch, who's nowhere near Adesanya's level, if you ask me, in the striking realm. I think Kelvin Gastelum is much better on the feet than him. He's got more power, and I don't think Ian Heinisch can out wrestle him. Ian Heinisch's losses in the UFC have been to better wrestlers. I don't know if Kelvin is the better wrestler, but that's never really been his game plan, even against a striker like Adesanya. I just don't think Ian Heinisch is at the level of Kelvin. I
Hmm.
don't think so. The guy has lost to Marcus Perez, who recently went out of the UFC. He didn't ask for his own release. I think Kelvin is just better everywhere possibly, and he works at that team over at King's MMA in California, where Danilo Marquez just got a victory last week. I think that
Hmm.
really upped the morale over there at that camp, and I think Kelvin is gonna keep their win streak going, and he's gonna get the unanimous decision. But he's very live for a knockout here. Kelvin has knocked down most of his opponents at middleweight, despite being undersized. I think he's a true welterweight. He's only 5'9", which is Dustin Poirier's height. He really doesn't have a proper middleweight build. I think he could be disciplined enough, possibly in the future, to be a welterweight, and I think he could be champion at welterweight. But at middleweight, when you have guys like Adesanya and Whitaker at the top, it's not going to happen for him. But against someone like Ian Heinisch, who's that low in the rankings, who doesn't have as much high level experience like Kelvin, I'm going to side with Kelvin here by unanimous decision or a third round TKO.
Brilliant, perfect example of a breakdown there. Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch, a great fight. But moving on to a legend fight, one they put on a short notice: Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Bobby Green has been on in 2020. He went on a good streak. He went on was it a 3-fight winning streak or 4-fight winning streak? I want to say a 3-fight winning streak in 2020. That started with Clay Guida, Lando Venata, and then Alan Patrick. He was really putting on a good account of himself. Then he came up against Thiago Moises. A lot of people thought it could have went his way. A lot of people thought it could have went Thiago Moises' way. It was a very good contest for the both of them. But then he has Jim Miller, two veterans going to battle. This is a really good fight. We've seen Jim Miller. He last fought against Vink Paschel in 2020 as well. He fought 3 times in 2020 as well. He went 2-1, 1-2. I mean, he lost against Scott Holzman, and then he beat Roosevelt Roberts, armbarred him, and then he lost against Vince Paschal. But he's got Bobby Green in his upcoming fight, and I think Bobby Green takes this one. I think Bobby Green he's been on a really good surge of his late. He arguably could have beat should have beaten Thiago Moises. He should have got a lot of people thought he should have got the nod that night, and I feel like he's got the momentum against his side. I feel like the different stages of their career. I feel like Jim Miller, he's a veteran. He's always there. I don't want to say that word, but I feel like I have to. I feel like he's like a little bit of a gatekeeper. I feel like there's a lot of if there's a young up and coming talent, you got to go through Jim Miller to get to the top at 155 pound. And I think even though Bobby Green ain't young himself, he's been around, fought the best. He's fought Dustin Poirier. He's fought a lot of great fighters in 155 pound. But so is Jim Miller, man. He's fought everyone. He's absolutely fought everyone in that division. But I just feel like Bobby Green will be too much for Jim Miller this night, and we'll see a good performance, a good bounce back performance from Bobby Green. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Bobby Green clearly won that Thiago Moises fight. I have no clue what the judges were seeing that night. He did almost get submitted, but I can't ignore the fact that that guy got outstruck 2-1. Let me show you these striking numbers: 94 to 43 for Bobby Green. That's outrageous. And oh, you're thinking maybe in one round he did really well. No, every single round. 26 to 13, 29 to 14, 30 and 15. He was landing twice as many strikes as Tiago. That's just outrageous if you ask me. Bobby Green should be 4-0 in 2020. Should have been talked about just like Kevin Holland and Hamzat were for better fighters of the year. Bobby Green has not fought the best of competition, recently. Let's not act like Clay Guida, Alan Patrick, Lando Venata. Let's not act like those guys are cream of the crop right now. And Jim Miller, I'd group him with those guys as well. I think Bobby Green could get it done here. And also, Jim Miller's coming off a loss to Vince from Hell Pichel. You know, Vince from Hell Pichel, he's actually not lost too many fights as of late, but I don't group him in the amongst the better guys either. So I'm gonna side with Bobby Green by unanimous decision because of the fact that he's been very active as of late, despite that little setback against Moises, and he's gonna be just the aggressor here. Jim Miller is gonna try to take him down. Bob Green showed good takedown defense against Clay Guida. He's not gonna be so Jim Miller won't be able to get those takedowns. So he's gonna get pieced up on the feet, and since he's got Lyme disease, his cardio has not been the same. In the third round, he always looks terrible. And Bobby Green actually has had some pretty decent third rounds, especially against Lando Veneta. So I'm gonna side with Bobby Green here by just a beating. It's gonna be a beating if you ask me. And I think he's more motivated.
Mhm. Yeah.
Jim, Jim Miller has had more octagon walks than anyone else, even Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He's seen it all. He's already fought his heart and soul out in the octagon plenty of times. And I think Bobby Green is hungrier. Bobby Green says he doesn't feel like he's respected by his peers yet. Everybody respects Jim Miller, but still doesn't exactly get the respect he deserves. So I think he's more motivated and he's better on the feet and he's got good takedown defense. So there we go. Unanimous decision, Bobby Green, unless he slips on a banana peel and gets submitted. But he didn't that didn't happen against Thiago Moises, so I have no reason to believe that it'll happen here. How about you?
Yeah, exactly how I'm putting it. Bobby Green, in absolute beating. I feel like in the first round, Jim Miller's going to shoot a lot. We're going to see a lot of takedown attempts, and Bobby Green will be equal to it. We'll see him stuffing a lot of shots, and he'll get straight back up, and then punches will come in fast and a lot as well. So yeah, that I believe we have one more main card. Julia Marquez versus Maki Patolo. We'll go through that one, and then we'll just quickly talk about the prelims. We don't want to hold you for too long, but there are some decent prelims on this fight. Some really good ones. Just think about this: Ricky Simone versus Brian Kelleher's on the prelims. That's a great fight, a really good fight, and the first fight of the evening, we've got Gillian Robertson, who I just spoke to. Link. I can't keep plugging it. I just spoke to her. The interview is on YouTube. You can watch it on Anchor and all the platforms on Apple on podcasts. Gillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. Crazy fight. Really good stylistic matchup. And that's the first fight of the evening. Incredible. But yeah, we'll quickly go through this last main card, and then we'll quickly give our picks for the prelims. Then we'll move on to the Bellator Light Heavyweight Championship that just recently got announced. Insane. Anyway, Julian Marquez versus Maki Potolo. This fight is in a really good fight. We saw Julian Marquez in his last fight against Alessio Jacaro. He lost a split decision. That was in 2018. It's been a long while for Julian Marquez to get back to the octagon. But once upon a time, he choked out Darren Stewart. He head kicked Phil Hawes. If you have not seen that KO, a ridiculous KO, all you have to do is look at Dana White's reaction after that KO to see how gnarly it was. Incredible. But yeah, absolutely tremendous. A lot of his wins do come by a KO. He has a win, believe it or not, in 2016 over Matt Hamill. Did you know that, Oscar?
Wow. I had no clue. I'm actually watching the season 3 of The Ultimate Fighter right now, and Matt Hamill's one of the more prominent characters on there. Yeah, that's really surprising.
Yeah, it was in 2016. After Matt Hamill got released from the UFC in 2013, he went on he lost 3 fights in a row, and he got knocked. Well, he got finished in the first one by knee bar, and they got punched. Got KO'd by Sokuju. Oh my god, do you remember him? Sokuju from Pride Days, big long dreads.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What a beast, man.
Yeah, he got knocked out by him, and then he got knocked out by Julian Marquez. And Julian Marquez got a win over Matt Hamill in 2016. But And then he came to the UFC, knocked out Phil Hawes in the Dana White Contender Series with a massive head kick, choked out Darren Stewart, lost to Alessio Descaro, and then kind of went away for a bit. And this is his first fight back. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been quite a long while for him to get back to the octagon. And he's fighting Maki Batola, who, if you look at his run of late, not the greatest. Really not the greatest. He's been on a 2-fight losing streak at the moment. Before that, he had a win over Charles Bird. He recently retired from MMA after that loss, and then he lost against Darren Stewart. Got choked out by Darren Stewart. Then Impa Castagna, he lost the decision. He's not been on the greatest run of form at the moment, and I think Junior Marquez puts on the pressure for him for his job as well. I think Marquez goes in there, and Maki Batola could take a lot of punches. And I think it was going to be the story of the fight again. I think Julian Marquez, we're going to see him come out early, come out strong, land a lot of kicks, land a lot of punches. But in the third round, we'll see Marquez gas because, he hasn't been in the octagon for a while. He threw everything into that first and second round. And Maki Batola, after wearing all them punches, will make a little bit of a comeback, but we're a little bit too late. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that actually is a pretty accurate description of how I see it going as well. Marquez is coming off a long layoff. I believe it was a back injury that he sustained, and he did go to a split decision with Alessio De Chirico, and we've learned that De Chirico is not quite the best in that middleweight division. He was on a 3-fight skid after that fight, so I don't really know how legit Marquez is, but he's a very scary. He's got a lot of power in his feet and his kicks. He actually knocked out, as you said, Phil Haas. He's knocked out guys with one punch in the past. And Maki has been knocked out cold in the past, so I have questions about his chin. So I'm gonna assume he gets knocked out here. But this reminds me of Ponzinibbio and Lee Yang back in January, where we saw Ponzinibbio get knocked out cold after a long layoff. He was a big favorite. Were expecting him to win out cold because that long probably was detrimental to his career. And I'm very scared about making this pick for Marquez because the same thing could happen when you got a guy named Coconut Bombs. He's got a lot of power in his hands as well. He's even got decent submission skills. But I'm going to side here with Marquez, but we could see him out cold on the floor just like Ponzinibbio was.
That was a great point that you brought up there. Maki Batola had been knocked out in the past before. That was a great one. We've seen him been knocked out. That's questions over his chin. That's a very valid point. We've seen him been knocked out before, and Junior Marquez has got a lot of power in them hands. If you look at his record, just full of knockouts, full of head kicks. But yeah, Maki Batola does have power in his hands also. So this will be a very interesting matchup for the main card in a great way to start it as well, with the two men just slugging it away. I think we're going to see a really good fight in this one. We're going to see a really good first round as well. I think the first round, both men are going to be fresh, and we're going to see them trading punches.
Yeah, this actually has potential to be fight of the night.
Mm-hmm. So we'll quickly go through the prelims, then we'll get on to the Bellator Light Heavyweight Championship Grand Prix. So give us your quick picks for the prelims, and I'll give you mine.
Yeah, all right. On the prelims, we got Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put money on this because I'm so confident. Vieira submits Hernandez. Hernandez has been submitted by Marcus Perez, who I don't think even though Perez is a black belt, Vieira is just next level. Have you seen that guy?
He's ridiculous. Have you seen the size of him as well? For 185 pounds, it's ridiculous. The size of him.
Yeah, I bet USADA's knocking on his door every month. But yeah, with that size, yeah, with those big old arms, he's going to be able to submit him. That's just what I expect, and I'll probably put money on it. Also, Muhammad and Lima. Muhammad, he's a real deal.
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad fought a big power puncher in Lehman Good. Talking about guys with USADA sitting on their door, Lehman Good is a big old power puncher, and he was able to survive those exchanges, and he won the fight by unanimous decision. And Muhammad says, "I don't have that one punch knockout power, but I can outwork you. I can mentally break guys with my cardio, and he'll do that at Diego Lima here. As we've seen in the past, usually one sibling does well and the other does not. Douglas Lima is welterweight champion. This guy's been knocked out by Li Jingliang. So I'm going with Bilal Mahad by unanimous decision, and I'll probably parlay it with Vieira by submission. Those are pretty predictable fights if you ask me. And Vienna and Martin, that's a coin flip. That's a coin flip fight. When you get rocked by what's her name? Martin, she got rocked by
Hold on, give me 2 seconds.
by Cyphers. Yes, Cyphers.
Ciphers. Yeah, Hannah Ciphers, yeah.
We've learned Cyphers is if you watch wrestling, there's this term called jobber. The big star gets fed to the jobber. That's what I view Hannah Cypher as. She's been set up to lose, and she usually does. And she was able to rock Mallory Martin. And for that reason, I will not be backing the favorite Mallory Martin here. I cannot back you if you get hurt by Hannah Cyphers. But let's not forget that Hannah Cyphers also beat Polyana Vienna. It's not looking too good on both sides here. This is what we're talking about when we say that we would like to sacrifice a fight on the prelims in order to create a 5-round co-main event. Vienna actually has knocked out Amanda Ibas. I foolishly overlooked that when she was matched up against somebody like Marina Rodriguez. I foolishly overlooked that because we know Vienna isn't too good on the feet either. But she is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and Melly Martin likes to wrestle. So I think Melly Martin's going to slip on a banana peel here and get armbarred. That's just how I see it going.
Good picks. I'll more so go with Polyana Viana, as you said. In her last fight, Mallory Martin, she got rocked by Hannah Cyphers. That's not a good look. And I believe she's been cut now, Hannah Cyphers. Actually, hold on.
She got a recent fight canceled.
Yeah, actually, yeah. She's been scheduled again. That made me question myself. I want to see who she got scheduled. In my head, I had Lomar look. But I think she already fought. Oh no, she was meant to fight Emily Whitmire, but that got cancelled.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before that, she's fought Angela Hill, lost. Mackenzie Dern, lost. Mira Agapova, lost. Marion Martin, lost. And she was finished in every single one of them. What do you call him? A jobber. That's what she is. A jobber. So Andre Ewell versus Chris Gutierrez, a really good fight. We've seen Chris Gutierrez in the past with them leg kicks when he stopped. Who did he stop? Vince Morales in his last fight. He stopped him with them not in his last fight, before his last fight. He stopped him with nasty leg kicks. And in his last fight, he got a draw versus Cody Durden, and Cody Durden just lost to Jimmy Flick. But Andre Ewell, he's a great fighter. He's been around. He's fought the best of best. He was meant to fight Cody Stanman in this fight. But in his last 2 fights, he's beat Jonathan Martinez, who beat Thomas Almeida recently. He's been Ivan Rivera. He's been that was the guy who stabbed his sisters, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. I didn't want to bring that up on the podcast. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, but he lost to Marlon Vera by ground and pound. He got submitted by Nathaniel Wood back in the day. We got someone called Nathan Diaz saying, "Haha, looking good." Jeff, I appreciate that, Nathan Diaz. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you tune in. We're breaking down the UFC 258 card, and we're gonna move on to the Bellator light heavyweight Grand Prix. Yes, that's it.
We weren't done with the prelims.
Yeah, we're not finished with the prelims yet. So he's knocked out. He's been knocked out before in the past. Finished by Marlon Vieira. Been choked out by Nathaniel Wood. But do I see Chris Gutierrez beating Andre Ewell? I'm not too sure. I think Andre Ewell, he's a crafty veteran. He has a lot of fights on his record. So does Chris Gutierrez. He's 15-2. Andre Ewell is 17-6. I think Chris Gutierrez, if he can get them leg kicks moving early, kind of stop the movement of Andre Ewell, that would be a very a good strategy, good tactic. But I feel like Ewell. He's looked good in his recent fights against his last fight. Who was it again? Owen Rivera. He was looking good. Then he looked good against Martinez. He got a split decision against Martinez, both against Ivan Rivera as well. So that actually, looking at that kind of questions. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to switch it. I'm going to go with Chris Gutierrez. I think Chris Gutierrez finishes him.
I'm actually very confident about this pick. Ewell was prepared to fight Stamen, who's a much better wrestler than Gutierrez, but Stamen does not use those leg kicks like Stamen does. He's gonna get in there and he's gonna use those leg kicks, as you said, and he's basically gonna piece him up, if you ask me. And I believe he can take him down as well and control him. Ewell has shown a poor gas tank in the past. He's gotten finished by Marlon Vera in the third round, and I think Gutierrez is gonna pretty much have a fairly dominant fight, and he'll win by unanimous decision. I know I keep on saying unanimous decision, but I don't see too many finishes happening on this card. If you like the card last week, and there weren't too many finishes, but it would just be uncharacteristic of the small octagon if we saw like a ton of decisions. But who knows? Who knows with a ton of these fights? And after that, Ricky Simone and Brian Kelleher is a fun fight. Been booked on multiple occasions. It's gotten canceled, which has always bummed me out. But we actually ended up seeing it. We're actually going to end up seeing this fight. And unless Brian Kelleher lands a big bomb or gets a guillotine, I think Ricky Simone gets this fairly easy. I think Ricky Simone is the better wrestler. He's actually gotten bigger wins, but we've seen him get submitted in the past, but never by guillotine. So I'm gonna be confident that Brian Kelleher is just gonna hope to get a guillotine, and Ricky Simone will slip his head out, and he'll keep him on his back, and that'll result in a Ricky Simone unanimous decision. How about you?
Before we move into that, we got a comment in the section. It said, Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch prediction. What was your prediction?
Yeah, I actually had Gastelum by unanimous decision, but he's very alive for a third round knockout because despite Ian Heinisch being from Colorado, his cardio hasn't seemed to be the best, and Gastelum was doing really well against Adesanya even in the later rounds.
Yeah, I went with Kelvin Gastelum, even though he hasn't been looking as great as of late. 3-fight losing skid, lost against Jack Manson in his last fight. He got knee barred, lost against Darren Till, and then that war against Israel Adesanya. He won 2 rounds, arguably against maybe even 3. It could have went either way that night, and he was the one who kind of really pushed Israel Adesanya at his best. That's the only fight we've ever seen Israel Adesanya in trouble. We've seen him rocks in that fight. We've seen Adesanya got rocks from that head kick. 5'9", Kelvin Gastelum landing a head kick on Adesanya. Ridiculous. But yeah, Kelvin Gastelum is a warrior. He's got that Mexican heart. But yeah, in this fight, I think Kelvin Gastelum takes it. I think we see a really good bounce back performance from him. And he said recently earlier on that he doesn't have a middleweight frame, and I agree with you. He's very small for the division. A lot of times he's going to get overpowered. A lot of the men are bigger than him. Ian Heinisch in this case probably I think is a little bit bigger than him. He's got a wider frame. Have we seen on Kelvin Gastelum? He's just got like a big belly-ish sort of. He's just like got a lot of he's like looks bloated, but if he went down to welterweight, even though I don't think he'll ever make that again. He's a big boy, but I think Kelvin Gastelum takes this, and he takes it in a spectacular fashion. We see him bounce back in really good performance. But yeah, we'll continue on. Where was we? Simone versus
Kelleher.
Brian Kelleher. Tremendous fight. This one has a tip to be probably fight of the night as well. This fight is going to be an absolutely crazy fight. Brian Kelleher, we've seen him in the past. He's fought some really good guys as well. We've seen he lost against Cody Stamann, lost in a decision, got out wrestled. He's been dash choked by Montel Jackson as well in the past. Incredible to think about that. Guillotined Odi Osborne. And then Ray Rodriguez in his last fight. Ricky Simon recently he knocked out he arm triangled. This is going to be Perriello and then he beat Ray Bold by split decision. Before that, he's lost to Ray Font, who's now top 5 in the division. Uriah Faber got finished by him on the feet. But in this fight, I really don't see Brian Kelleher possessing much threat to Simone. I think the only, as you said there earlier, Brian Kelleher, the only way path to victory I see it is maybe maybe a grab on the guillotine. If Simon shoots, leaves his head exposed, he grabs that guillotine. That's the only way I can see him winning. But Simon is an absolutely great fighter, great wrestling. And this is what is going to be the story of the fight. I think Simeon wrestling for 15 minutes.
Yeah. But we did see Simone get knocked out by an older
Yeah.
Uriah Faber. And
Mm-hmm.
Kelleher, he knocked out Hunter Azure, who was undefeated, I believe. So
Yeah.
that's a real possibility. But yeah, I don't really expect that to happen. And the next fight, I do think we could see a finish between Green and Rowe. I think Green has an excellent gas tank. If you saw that fight against D-Rod Daniel Rodriguez, he landed over 100 strikes and he never stopped. That fight was pretty crazy. I think it got overlooked. It didn't even get fight of the night. Those guys landed over 200 total significant strikes. Those guys have pretty excellent cardio. And I think Green should be able to piece up Rowe, even though Rowe is huge for this division. This is welterweight, and Rowe is 6'3", just like Neil Magny, and he has a pretty significant reach advantage here. But Rowe has just looked he's looked pretty good as of late, but it against the best of competition? No, he's a contender series guy. He did lose his first 2 fights, which I can always respect a fighter that can come back from back to back losses in your first 2 fights. That has to be very discouraging because you gotta double guess yourself. If you're losing your first 2 fights, you know, I gotta commend him for staying in the game just by losing his first two. That shows that he's a real fighter. He can come back from adversity. But I just think Gabe Green offers too much adversity for him here. Gabe Green has gotten most of his wins by submission, and I expect him to submit Phil Rowe here in the first or second round. How about you?
That's a great way of looking at it. But we've seen Gabe Green in the past. He's been knocked out by Jalen Turner, and he's also been knocked out by Rando Abata, in the past as well. So as the famous Oscar line, I've got to have questions about his chin. Oscar. But Philip Rowe, if we've seen it in his recent fights, his finishing fights. We've seen it in his last fight against Leon Shabardian, where he knocked him out on the Contender Series. And I think he has a lot of submission wins under his belt as well, a lot of rear naked chokes. Do I see Philip Rowe knocking him out? I see Philip Rowe knocking him out. I see that it's going to be a finish from Philip Rowe. We've seen Gabe Green been knocked out in the past, twice back to back. Since then, bouncing back, obviously. Then lost against Daniel Rodriguez. I think Philip Rowe finishes him in the fight, and he finishes it early on.
Yeah, that's a real possibility. I am not too familiar with those two. They haven't had too many fights in the UFC, so there's a lot of question marks there. And as you said, including Gabe Green's chin, which that could be exposed. But in the next one, Miranda Maverick said she wants that second round finish, and so did Jillian. This is not a striker versus grappler matchup, but in terms of the methods, one wants it on the feet, one wants it on the ground, and it's a tough pick for me if you ask me. Uh, I'm gonna have to side with Maverick because I think she's a little cleaner on the feet. Let's not forget Robertson got dominated, just straight up
Decimated.
dominated against Talia Santos. Talia Santos is very talented in her own right. She's much more talented than Miranda Maverick. I don't think Maverick has the level of jiu-jitsu of Robertson, who got that black belt from Dean Thomas. I think Jillian Robertson could get a submission, but I wouldn't bank on it because we've seen her just kind of let down the betters in the past with those submissions. You know, we've seen her lose when she should. She's been very up and down in her career, and I can't really back her in this spot with somebody like Miranda Maverick, who's really got a lot of momentum behind her. John Anik touted her as the greatest prospect of 2020. John Anik thinks the world of her. And Miranda Maverick, she actually won 3 fights in one night. If you didn't know, only the last one counted. So, that's pretty cool. She was really good in Invicta. She finished Liana Joshua with that elbow. With that, yeah, it was the doctor that stopped that fight. I think it could have gone a little longer, but Maverick's really good on the feet, a little better than Robertson, and that's probably going to be the determining factor in her getting the unanimous decision victory. How about you? You just interviewed Robertson, so you might be a little biased. She could catch her. What do you think?
I hope she's not watching this. I really hope. I just released an interview with Gillian Robertson just before this one. Go check it out after this preview. But Miranda Maverick, man, she's a killer. If you've seen her last fight against Lorana Joja, that elbow that was nasty, absolutely nasty. She's got a good frame for 125. She's big. She's strong. She's got good wrestling as well. She said she's comfortable on the back. I interviewed her on Pop Sports Radio. She said she's very comfortable on her back if it went to the ground. So that was interesting. I was like, oh, okay. And then Gillian Robertson said, well, it's different type of pressure when she's on her back, when she's on top. I mean, so this is a good fight. And I feel like Gillian Robertson would do good in the first round. We'll see her, come out explosive, get the fight to the floor, control her, look for some submissions, not be successful. And in that second round where both women predicted a finish, that would be a crazy round in that second round. I think that would be a really good round because both women will be hunting for the finish. And I think it will come Gillian Robertson's way.
Ooh, I think it's a very exciting fight. You should definitely turn on the fights early and watch this one.
Yeah. I say don't bet on this one. If you're a bettor, do not bet on this one. This is a really close fight.
Yeah, you were saying Jillian should probably not listen to this.
Yeah,
you interviewed Maverick as well, right? So I don't think you can. One of them is going to be mad at us after watching this.
Yeah.
Sorry, whoever loses, it's going to be close. I gotta give
both women.
Both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Both women have tremendous potential. In the future, I'd love to see Miranda Maverick take on Macy Barber, who's fighting early on. That would be a crazy fight. But not yet though. Both women early on. I'd like to see it when they're both top 5, top 10. That would be a good fight to see down the line, 100%. Well, that's our picks. That's our picks for UFC 258. Nathan Diaz put in the chat. Who you guys got for the Bellator light heavyweight tournament? Rumble versus Romero. Who you got? That's a perfect segue into our next segment of the show and the last one. Bellator have came up huge in 2021 and have announced a crazy light heavyweight tournament with some of the best names in the light heavyweight division that we've seen in recent years. Rumble coming out of retirement. Romero moving over to Bellator. Corey Anderson moving over to Bellator, Ryan Bader, Vadim Nemkov, who's a beast, and I can't pronounce the other guy's name. I'm wondering, Oscar.
I'll take a crack at it. I'll just pull it up right here on Bellator's Instagram. They uploaded the bracket to Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll take a crack at it. There's question marks on it if his name has an I or a Y in it. But his name, Yag Shirmuradov. Yag Shirmuradov. Yeah, Yag Shirmuradov. I got it down. I've
crazy.
And his first name is Davlet Shagmuradov.
Mm-hmm. So this is incredible tournament. We'll look at the bracket. I'll get the bracket up on my phone and we'll talk about it. What one do you want to talk about first? Romero versus Rumble?
Yeah, let's talk about the right side of the bracket. Rumble and Romero and Nemkov and Davis for the belt. We'll talk about that
Quick.
side of the
All right.
bracket first.
Good. Good. All right. You go first.
All right, so Rumble and Romero is a dream matchup. It's something we've MMA fans have fantasized about, and I think Rumble has had a really long layoff. He struggled against DC twice and got submitted. Romero will not possess that submission threat like DC does, but that wrestling advantage from Romero might really give him this win. But we've never really seen Romero come out with a wrestling game plan, and that's what's going to cost him. I think he gets clipped here. Paulo Costa really tested his chin that one time, and I don't think Paulo Costa and Rumble are in the same level in terms of power. So I think if Romero lands a really good shot, he'll put out Yoel, who's Yoel has one of the most legendary chins in UFC history. He's been hit with the kitchen, everything in the kitchen sink by Whitaker, and he kept on going. But I think Rumble has insane power. So Rumble clips him here, but there's always question marks about a guy coming back from a long layoff. So I'll side with Rumble for now.
This is a crazy, crazy, crazy fight. You put it perfectly. A dream matchup, a fight between two powerhouses. I always thought the size of Yoel Romero, 185 pounds. I always looked that he was huge. He always struggled to make that weight. Recently, though, he looked more disciplined. He looked great coming in at the weigh-ins. He looked good. He looked fine. 205 pounds is a great weight class for him. I think he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to look good. He's going to look fresh. But he, as you said there, he's never ever. I can't remember the last time he's ever came in with a wrestling game plan. He's always came in to strike. And this is what's so good about this matchup because, as I said there, Rumble doesn't really have to worry about that submission offense. Every time he's lost a fight, he's lost via submission. We've seen him lost against Daniel Cormier, submissioned. And I think that, yeah, exactly.
Middleweight.
Yeah. But I don't think there's going to be a submission offense from Yoel Romero in this fight. And I think that both men are going to stand on the feet and whoever gets clipped first. And that's it. It's not night to whoever it was. And I think Rumble's going to be quicker. I think he's going to be the more powerful. I think his strikes are going to be crisper. And I think he's going to be more technical on the feet. I feel like his 1-2s are going to be straight down the barrel, really sharp, really quick as well. I think that's going to really catch Yoel Romero, how quick he is, for how big he is, and he'll get clipped early on, and that'll be the end of the fight. And we'll see Rumble return in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, that's
a crazy fight though.
Yeah.
This is a dream matchup, and to think I get to interview these fighters after the fight, I'm gonna be buzzing, absolutely buzzing. So who we got on Nemkov versus Davis? I mean, Davis as of late, I mean, he's been looking good. We've seen it in his last fight, but Vadim Nemkov just beating Ryan Bader. Ryan Bader was their golden man over at Bellator. He was beating everyone. He got that champ status over there in Bellator. He was the heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion. Then he lost viciously to Vadim Nemkov. In the first round, Ryan Bader had a good round, and then Vadim Nemkov out of nowhere lands that big, huge head kick and finishes the fight. Goes ground and pound, finishes the fight. And I think we're going to see him finish this fight as well. I think Vadim Nemkov is on a different length, a wavelength of Phil Davis. I think this fight is a really good fight, a really close fight, but I see Vadim Nemkov taking this one. What do you reckon?
Yeah, this is actually a rematch if you didn't know. Nemkov already beat him, so I think he'll do it again. I don't think Phil Davis has significantly improved since this. I think Nemkov probably has. Nemkov is Fedor's protege. He's looking to put Russian MMA on the map, especially in Bellator, and he's gonna shine here. He's live for a finish, if you ask me. But if Davis is struggling with an older Lyoto Machida, I think we're probably gonna see Nemkov get a finish, possibly in the third round.
Yeah, we'll move on to the left side of the bracket. Do you want to start with Ryan Bader or versus Lyoto Machida, or Corey Anderson versus Yag Ishim Muradov?
Yeah, I'm actually going to start with Bader and Machida. This is also a rematch. This one did it go down in the UFC or Bellator? Their first fight, I
UFC, I
believe it.
believe.
Yeah, it was in the
Mhm.
UFC. This is in Bellator. They're much different fighters than they used to be. Bader has seen a lot of success in Bellator. You know, as you mentioned, double champ. Machida, despite him being older, he's actually been hanging with these guys. That Gegard Mousasi rematch was a split decision. Gegard Mousasi is a monster. He has one of the best records in MMA that nobody really talks about. He's like 46-7. That's insane. And he went to a split decision with him just last year. Bader, he didn't look too good at light heavyweight. I think he didn't do that cut in a long time, and he's a little older. He's like 37, so doing that cut late at a later age probably isn't the best for him. But Machida's also doing that cut at a later age, so I think Bader does what he did in the first fight. He takes him down and controls him, and he probably gets his hand raised by unanimous decision, and that might be the path to victory for Corey Anderson against Davlet Shagmiridov. Corey Anderson is a monster, but as I like to say, questions about that chin, knocked out by OSP, Bohovic. Who else? Johnny Walker was expected to knock him out, but he turned the tables on him, and he completely shut down that hype train. And he's gonna shut down Yakshir Muradov's hype train. Even though Yakshir Muradov was a champion over in this promotion, he has not been fighting the best competition. I always cannot back a fighter who's been fighting tomato cans, let's say, in their promotion. Well, when you're fighting like a debuting fighter or somebody that's like 14-17, it's not a good look. And I think Corey Anderson, he's been in the UFC a long time. He actually got released after that Blachowicz shot, but that was Blachowicz. That's a champion right now. And Davle is just in a completely different universe than Blachowicz in terms of MMA success. He's got a good record, but Corey Anderson should be able to stop any takedowns. But he could get clipped here, but he also could have gotten clipped by Melvin Manhoef. So I think Corey Anderson can win this wherever he wants, if you ask me. How about you?
Yeah, we'll start off with the Ryan Bader one versus Lyoto Machida. The first fight, Lyoto Machida knocked him out back in UFC. Hold on, let me get. I had it up here. Back at UFC on Fox 4 when they actually Shogun versus Vieira. But yeah, Lyoto Machida knocked out Ryan Bader. But this way it's going differently. Both men are older. Lyoto Machida is the more elder. A cut to 205 pounds doesn't look pretty for both men. We saw that against Ryan Bader in his last fight. He hadn't been able to 205 pounds for a few years after he had that heavyweight tournament, won it, beat Fedor, got the belt. In this fight, though, I see they go differently. I think the age of Machida will play a factor in this fight. I think we'll see Ryan Bader be more active, more movement from him. But Lyoto Machida can, he can come out of nowhere. He can do nothing for 10 minutes, and in 10 seconds, crane kick up the middle, boom, lights out. We've seen it against Vitor Belfort. We've seen it against I can't remember who else he knocked out. But yeah, incredible karate type. He's so good. But Ryan Bader has that wrestling. I think he takes him down, wears them out, and in the third, we see him really, pay the pressure, pile on the pressure, and he'll finish the fight. I think Ryan Bader takes out Ibarra to the next round. Then we got Corey Anderson versus we call him his opponent. I can't pronounce his name. Let me look at his name. Yag Ishimameridov. As you said there, perfectly. You always have questions about someone who's not been fighting the best of competition. So that's always question marks. But Corey Anderson, elite level fighter. He's been in the UFC, but there's questions about his chin. been knocked out to get against OSP, been knocked against Yan, who's now the UFC light heavyweight champion. But you just need to look at where these men and who they've fought in their career to really pick a winner. I think Corey Anderson, who's been in the UFC, been in Bellator now, he's fought the best of the best, and I think he takes his fight and he derails the hype train.
Yeah, let me just read you some of the records off of Dabler's competition in case anybody's trying to say, oh, he fought decent guys here and there. He did. His last win was a guy that was 15-3, Alexei Botorian. But before that, just 2 fights before that, he fought a guy that was 4-0. That's kind of being a bully, if you ask me. A guy that's 4-0, only his 5th fight, when he's 15-5. That's a mismatch anywhere. And also, there's a guy that was 17-15. That's not a pretty record in any sense of the word. So if those guys are amongst your wins and your fairly recent wins within the past 3 or 4 years, I gotta have questions about how really good are you. Danilo Marquez had some questionable wins, but he proved he was the real deal. He submitted Rodriguez, and he got that win against Ibrahimov. I think Yakshiramardov has to prove himself to me, and that's why I'm picking Corey.
Yeah, exactly. I'll picking Corey as well. Only way I can see Yagimish Pedov. Oh my god, his name.
You're saying his name every time you say it.
Yeah. Let me look at his name. Hold on. Again.
Yagshimuradov, I believe.
Dovaletsian. We're gonna call him that. Dovaletsian. But I think he could probably clip Corey. We've seen Corey struggle in the past. Every time he gets clipped, he wears it on the chin. He's been knocked out previously in the past, but I just don't see that being a threat. I think Corey takes him down, uses wrestling, controls him, and eventually just takes that 15-minute win and moves on to the next round. I think this is a good matchup. We've seen, but yeah, his opponent, he's not been fighting the best competition, and you have to pick Corey because who he's been fighting and where he's been at. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He's in Bellator. He fought Melvin Manhoof in his last fight, finished him, a legend as well, Melvin Manhoof, a kickboxing legend. But yeah, Corey Anderson takes this one. That's the only way I can see it going.
Yeah, I actually got a question. Who wins it? Who wins it all? Who wins the World Grand Prix?
Who wins the World Grand Prix?
Yeah.
So I picked Vadim Nemkov to go through. So he goes through to the bracket. Johnson goes through as well. So that means it's Johnson versus Vadim Nemkov. And then we've got Bader versus Corey Anderson. I think Bader beat Lyoto Machida. Corey will beat his opponent. And then Corey will beat Bader. And then Bader will go to the... Corey will be in the final. And then Vadim versus Johnson. Ooh. That's a tricky one. I think Vadim Nemkov loses to Johnson. And then we see Corey Anderson versus Johnson in the final. And then I think Johnson knocks him out. And then Johnson reigns supreme.
Yeah, I actually think the final will be a rematch. We're going to see Rumble and Bader run it back in the final. If you ask me, I think Rumble probably gets that knockout in the first round when it happens. It's just the way things are shaped out. We said Anderson can get knocked out at any time, and Bader's got a lot of power. Knocked out Fedor, and he's gonna clip him and advance. And also, you said that Nemkov and Rumble are gonna face off. Nemkov's he's only been finished by retirement. Like he quit in the corner because he realized he could not win. But Rumble just has that next level power. That
devastating.
Yeah, it erases all of his mistakes. He can make any mistake he wants, just like Nagano. It took the third punch against Rosenstrike to get him the victory. It didn't matter that he missed those other punches. He just needs one. And I think Rumble will be the Bellator light heavyweight champion in October.
We both chose that. We both chose Rumble.
Yeah, we actually agreed on every single pick.
Would you look at that? Great minds think alike.
Yes, they do. But Maverick and Robertson, we're gonna see who's right there. And also, I want to keep track of these picks in the upcoming weeks. I want to see
Mhm.
who's smarter, who has the better instincts when it comes to picking an MMA fight. Because
Yeah.
yeah, there's money to be made out there, and we're gonna see who you can trust your money with.
Probably not me. Probably Oscar.
Let me show you my 2021 record. I actually wanted to keep track of this so I could see if I can brag about my picks. Here's my record. It's 26-21 for 2021. That's a 55% winning percentage. That means I win most of the time, but I'm probably going to be wrong half of the time as well. So, not a good look at this point. I'm going to
Mhm.
rebound this week.
Mhm.
Even though
Hopefully, I will rebound. Yeah. Last
yeah,
week was terrible. A lot of underdog. Well, not last week, but the week before that, a lot of underdogs came through.
yeah.
A lot of fights I didn't. A lot of fighters I didn't think would win won. I was like, oh damn.
Yeah, if you're looking at the card for this weekend's pay per view, which I'm actually pretty excited as kick things off with, I wasn't too excited when it was announced, but the more you analyze that fight and the fact that they're teammates, Usman went to a different gym. There's a lot of, you don't really know until they both get in there, and we'll see who really is the better fighter. If you saw the media day interviews, Usman looks like he's going to be neutral. Burns also says there's no friends in there. I don't know. It's gonna really come down to who really was better in that gym. And if you're looking at these odds right now, the only underdog I'm signing with is Vienna, and I'm not even confident about that. And as we've seen in the past, these underdogs just win out of nowhere. Marcin Prachnio and Khalil Roundtree Jr. just shocks the world. Marina Rodriguez, Dustin Poirier,
Trevin Jones versus Team Evaluate.
Tim Elliott. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
it's a crazy year. It's a crazy time. Li Ching Liang and Santiago Ponzinibbio. There's a lot of underdogs that are alive to finish, and the only one I'm backing is Vienna, who as I said, I'm not very confident about. So, if I were you, I wouldn't bet my picks. But hey, if do this, parlay Vera and Muhammad by decision. They'll take me later. Those are locks. If you ask me, those are locks. Do you agree?
Uh, yeah, Mohammed and Vieira, definitely.
But the winning method is Muhammad by decision and Vera by submission. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Vieira will get a submission, and Mohammed, as you said there, it said earlier, not a power puncher. Likes a lot of bunches and punches, but punches and bunches. I mean, and yeah, he will take this decision.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps it up. Make sure to watch
That
that
wraps up.
Jillian. Make sure
A
to watch
perfect way
that
to.
Jillian.
Yeah, make sure to watch that Gillian Robertson interview. Which I'll say. Sorry.
Yeah. And for all the audio listeners, this will actually be in the same episode 17. So stay tuned in because we'll transfer right over to the Jillian Robertson interview. She's fighting Miranda Maverick in the first fight of the night. Don't miss it.
A brilliant way to end it. Thank you, Oscar, for joining me. A different setup for us this week, but yeah, I enjoyed it nonetheless. Great talking to you, Oscar. Till next time, till next week. Thank you very much, and we'll see you then.